don't know if you were paying attention to this game right here on Sunday Night Football last night, but good old Moosey Boy was. And I'm going to tell you on this episode of Falcons Today how the Atlanta Falcons can beat the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football in Week 6. Welcome in, Falcons fans, to Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. Before we get into the matchup, though, I have to ask you a very important question. If you're ready to get back to Falcons football, because as much as we like the bye week to get right in the mind and right in the body, you still have an entire week of no Falcons football, and that's not good for anybody. So do me a favor, get your ATLs going down in the chat down below. Let's talk about this Week 6 matchup. The Bills, one of two undefeated teams going into Week 5, both of which fell. The Denver Broncos beat the Philadelphia Eagles, and then, of course, the New England Patriots, hosted by producer Alper on the ones and twos today, took the W in their divisional matchup against the Buffalo Bills. Here's what I took away from last night's game. The Bills are definitely a beatable team. And that's not to take away from what the Patriots were able to do last night. I think Drake May is absolutely showing that he is the franchise quarterback of that franchise for the future. However, many Falcons fans got into the comments of a couple videos ago, and I will give you full credit. Y'all said the teams that they beat were not good outside of their Week 1 win against the Baltimore Ravens, where it literally went down. Well, that doesn't look quite right. They didn't win 41-140. They won 41-40. However, the Week 2 matchup against the New York Jets, they smoke the worst team in the NFL, that being the Jets. The Dolphins, they absolutely crush because the Dolphins also suck. They lost to the Carolina Panthers. They beat the Aints in a game where the Aints stuck around for a lot longer than they should, kind of like a fly that just won't go away. And then, of course, their first real test outside of the Ravens, they lose 23-20. Here's also what I saw from the Buffalo Bills. If you play the Bills punch for punch, we're going to do a little boxing analogy here. They're going to crush you. You cannot go up and play them at their own game, which is we're going to score more points than you. We're going to beat you like this. We're going to make it an offensive firepower, and we're just going to drop the gauntlet on you. That's not how you beat the Buffalo Bills. They're too talented. Josh Allen is too talented. They're way too solid of a team to end up losing a game quite like that. However, if you gradually wear them down, you lose, or they lose, excuse me. Here's what Josh Allen had to say about last night's loss. And I think this is interesting because there is a way, like I said, to beat the Buffalo Bills. He said, you're not going to win football games turning the ball over 3 times in our red zone. Gave them one in their red zone. That's just bad football. And we did not play good tonight. We just played sloppy. If you force the Bills to make their own mistakes, you can beat them. The Bills kind of remind me of a young Mike Tyson. And that being, if you just go up square against a young prime Mike Tyson, 99 times out of 100, you're going to lose. Because he's just too powerful. He's too strong. His knockout blow is too great. And the Bills, just like Mike Tyson, are built to beat you early. Remember, Mike Tyson would come out in the first couple of rounds and he would just go for the knockout kill. And for the most part, that's how it worked for him for his entire career. He steps on your neck after he beats the crap out of you and then just says, thanks for showing up, but it was an easy dub. But just like Mike Tyson, the Bills are not built for the long game. If you take them 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rounds, you'll wear them down. They don't have the stamina to go up against every single team in the NFL and consistently beat them. So what does that mean the Falcons have to be? Evander Holyfield on Monday night. Just counter all the time. And there's ways that you can counter football-wise. We're not just going to talk straight boxing this entire time. But if you counter and you throw a jab, if you counter, throw a hook, if you counter, throw a straight, you can beat the Buffalo Bills. Patriots showed it last night, which is why my confidence level now going into the Bills game is higher than it's ever been. I'm going to say it's like an 80. It's like an 80 out of 100. I do believe with the right game plan from Raheem Morris defensively and from the right game plan, cross your fingers. Offensively, from Zach Robinson, the Atlanta Falcons can take on the Buffalo Bills and hand them their second straight loss. And that's why coming up next, I'm going to tell you why this Monday Night Football game is more important than ever. Now, before I do that, I have to tell you about our friends over at PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Do not miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. Did you know that PrizePicks is rolling out this new kind of awesome feature that they call stacks? And essentially what that is that you can now take one player and their stat projections in the exact same lineup. So if you wanted to, if you were a Bills fan going up against the Falcons, take Josh Allen's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns, you now can do that in the exact same lineup on PrizePicks. But it is also super simple to play. You pick your player, their stat projections, the more or the less, and then you watch your money multiply. Up to 2,000 times your money this season on PrizePicks. Just download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Also, by the way, check out other players directly on the app and follow their lineups. Copy it in just one click. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It is good to be right. All right, here's why it is also so important that the Falcons beat the Bills on Monday Night Football. We talked a little bit yesterday on one of our social posts that the Falcons needed a big-time loss from every single NFC South team. Well, the exact opposite happened. Every single team in the NFC South won. Like every team. The Buccaneers, they beat the Seahawks in a really high-scoring game. The Panthers squeaked one out against the Dolphins, and of course, the New Orleans Saints, who I thought might have gone 0-17, they actually beat the New York Giants. So, now the Falcons, although still sitting in second place, have an opportunity to not only solidify themselves in second place, but if they are going to win that game, not only does it show that you can beat a great team like the Buffalo Bills, but you can absolutely take a hold of the division. Here's the history, though, and it's not great history. The Falcons, all time on Monday Night Football, are 17-28. That's not good. But there is positive momentum recently. In their last 10 games on Monday Night Football, they are 7-3. And they have home field advantage, plus the rest advantage over the Buffalo Bills. Falcons will have basically 15 days of rest in between their last game to this next upcoming game, whereas the Bills will have 6. That's a net rest advantage of plus 9 days for the Atlanta Falcons. And I don't know if you saw this or not, kind of tongue-in-cheek, I'm going to be completely honest with you, but Mike Conti kind of made me feel a little bit good last night. I'm not going to lie, this made me puff out my chest a little bit. The Falcons are now number 1 in the NFL in total defense. They didn't play in week 5, so yes, I get it. But if you're going by yards per game, this actually still holds very true. The Falcons, in terms of how many games they've played and given up in terms of yards in those games, they are still number 1. So it doesn't matter that they didn't play in week 5. They still are averaging a better yards per game than any other defense in the NFL. And I've told you time and time again, this is a new identity for the Atlanta Falcons. This team is built on defense. It is. So what are the keys to victory for the Dirty Birds? Nice and easy. Play smart, clean football. That's the first thing. Against good football teams, you cannot afford to turn the ball over. If you lose the turnover differential, you will lose the football game, period. Take advantage of a weaker safety unit. Even though the Buffalo Bills defense has been pretty good against the pass this year, they have 2 safeties that are definitely gettable on a deep ball, Damar Hamlin and Cole Bishop. So if you can take shots down the field like you did against the Washington Commanders, you can absolutely win that football game. Force the Bills, like we just talked about earlier in today's episode, into their own mistakes. Force their turnovers and have them play your brand of football. And then, of course, probably the most important one, control the time of possession. The Patriots and the Bills went head-to-head, and the Patriots beat them in a lot of statistical categories. But did you know that the Bills beat them in one major category, time of possession? If you look at the numbers, total offense, the Bills still won, but they lost the turnover battle. They won the time of possession. If you can flip-flop those, if you can make sure that you have 35 minutes on the clock versus the Bills 25, if we're just taking those last couple of numbers, you will win that football game. The less time that Josh Allen is on the field, the better, because we've seen what he can do when he's at his best. He's Superman. But the kryptonite could be the Atlanta Falcons. And NFL truths, as I wrap up today's episode, remain constant. Good teams in the NFL usually find an identity on how they win. For example, the San Francisco 49ers, they win on script, right? Kyle Shanahan's plays. The Buffalo Bills, Mike Tyson, early knockout punch. Great teams can win anyway. They can win with an early lead. They can win by an early knockout punch. They can win trailing, etc., etc. And that is how you get into Kansas City Chiefs territory during their reign. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's episode. I'm fired up for the Monday Night Football matchup. I'm going to be back a little bit later today with some more Falcons analysis surrounding the Dirty Birds and how they can make adjustments to their starting lineup after the bye week. But if you made it to the very end of today's video, type me after you hit that subscribe button. Remember, it's completely free. That's going to do it for us on today's episode, Dirty Birds fans. A reminder to like the video, subscribe, rise up, and be cool.